word of the blessing of Enoch, how he blessed the elect and the righteous, who were to exist in the time of trouble, rejecting all the wicked and ungodly. Enoch, a righteous man, who was with God, answered and spoke while his eyes were open, and while he saw a holy vision in the heavens. This the angel showed me. From them I heard all things, and understood what I saw, that which will not take place in this generation, but in a generation which is to succeed at a distant period on account of the elect. Upon their account I spoke and conversed with them. Who will go forth from his habitation, the holy and mighty one, the God of the world? Who will hereafter tread upon Mount Sinai, appear with his hosts, and be manifested in the strength of his power from heaven? All shall be afraid, and the watchers be terrified. Great fear and trembling shall seize them, even to the ends of the earth. The lofty mountains shall be troubled, and the exalted hills depressed, melting like a honeycomb in the flame. The earth shall be immerged, and all things which are in it perish, while judgment shall come upon all, even upon all the righteous. But to them shall he give peace, he shall preserve the elect, and towards them exercise clemency. Then shall all belong to God, be happy and blessed, and the splendor of the Godhead shall illuminate them. Chapter 2. Behold, he comes with 10,000s of his saints, to execute judgment upon them, and destroy the wicked, and reprove all the carnal for everything which the sinful and ungodly have done and committed against him. Chapter 3. All who are in the heavens know what is transacted there. They know that the heavenly luminaries change not their paths, that each rises and sets regularly, every one at its proper period, without transgressing the commands which they have received. They behold the earth and understand what is there transacted, from the beginning to the end of it. They see that every work of God is invariable in the period of its appearance. They behold summer and winter, perceiving that the whole earth is full of water, and that the cloud, the dew, and the rain refresh it. Chapter 4. They consider and behold every tree, how it appears to wither, and every leaf to fall off, except of 14 trees which are not deciduous, which wait from the old to the appearance of the new leaf for 2 or 3 winters. Chapter 5. Again they consider the days of summer, that the sun is upon it, at its very beginning, while you seek for a covered and shady spot on account of the burning sun, while the earth is scorched up with fervid heat, and you become incapable of walking either upon the ground or upon the rocks in consequences of that heat. Chapter 6. They consider how the trees, when they put forth their green leaves, become covered, and produce fruit, understanding everything, and knowing that he who lives forever does all these things for you. That the works at the beginning of every existing year, that all his works are subservient to him and invariable, yet as God has appointed, so are all things brought to pass. They see, too, how the seas and the rivers together complete their respective operations. But you endure not patiently, nor fulfill the commandments of the Lord, but you transgress and calumniate his greatness, and malignant are the words in your polluted mouths against his majesty. You withered in heart, no peace shall be to you. Therefore your days shall you curse, and the years of your life shall perish. Perpetual execration shall be multiplied, and you shall not obtain mercy. In those days shall you resign your peace with the eternal maledictions of all the righteous, and sinners shall perpetually execrate you. Shall execrate you with the ungodly. The elect shall possess light, joy, and peace, and they shall inherit the earth. But you unholy, shall be accursed. Then shall wisdom be given to the elect, all of whom shall live, and not again transgress by impiety or pride, but shall humble themselves, possessing prudence, and shall not repeat transgression. They shall not be condemned the whole period of their lives, not die in torment and indignation, but the sum of their days shall be completed, and they shall grow old in peace, while the years of their happiness shall be multiplied with joy and with peace forever, the whole duration of their existence. Chapter 7. It happened after the sons of men had multiplied in those days, the daughters were born to them elegant and beautiful. And when the angels, the Son of Heaven, beheld them, they became enamored of them, saying to each other, Come, let us select for ourselves wives from the progeny of men, and let us beget children. Then their leader, Semyaza, said to them, I fear that you may perhaps be indisposed to the performance of this enterprise, and that I alone shall suffer for so grievous a crime. But they answered him and said, We all swear, and bind ourselves by mutual execrations, that we will not change our intention, but execute our projected undertaking. Then they swore all together, and all bound themselves by mutual execrations. Their whole number was 200 who descended upon Ardis, which is the top of Mount Armon. That mountain, therefore, was called Armon, because they had sworn upon it, and bound themselves by mutual execrations. These are the names of their chiefs: Semyaza, who was their leader, Urikabaramil, Akabil, Tamiel, Ramuel, Danel, Azkiel, Serichnal, Asael, Armers, Batral, Anane, Zavabe, Samsavil, Ertel, Turel, Yamiel, Arazael. These are the prefects of the 200 angels, and the remainder were all with them. Then they took wives, each choosing for himself, whom they began to approach, and with whom they cohabited, teaching them sorcery, incantations, and the dividing of roots and trees. And the women, conceiving, brought forth giants, whose stature was each 300 cubits. These devoured all which the labor of men produced, until it became impossible to feed them, when they turned themselves against men in order to devour them, and began to injure birds, beasts, reptiles, and fishes, to eat their flesh one after another, and to drink their blood. Then the earth reproved the unrighteous. Chapter 8. Moreover, Azazel taught men to make swords, knives, shields, breastplates, the fabrication of mirrors, and the workmanship of bracelets and ornaments, the use of paint, the beautifying of the eyebrows, the use of stones of every valuable and select kind, and all sorts of dyes, so that the world became altered. Impiety increased, fornication multiplied, and they transgressed and corrupted all their ways. Amazarach taught all the sorcerers and dividers of roots. Armers taught the solution of sorcery. Barkayal taught the observers of the stars. Akabil taught signs. Tamiel taught astronomy. And Azrael taught the motion of the moon. And men being destroyed cried out, and their voice reached to heaven. Chapter 9. Then Michael and Gabriel, Raphael, Suriel and Uriel looked down from heaven, and saw the quantity of blood which shed on earth, and all the iniquity which was done upon it, and said one to another, It is the voice of their cries. The earth, deprived of her children, has cried even to the gate of heaven. And now to you, O you Holy One of heaven, the souls of men complain, saying, Obtain justice for us with the Most High. Then they said to their Lord and King, You are Lord of lords, God of gods, King of kings. The throne of your glory is forever and for and ever and ever is your name sanctified and glorified. You are blessed and glorified. You have made all things. You possess power over all things, and all things are open and manifest before you. You behold all things, and nothing can be concealed from you. You have seen what Azazel has done, how he has taught every species of iniquity upon earth, and has disclosed to the world all the secret things which are done in the heavens. Semyaza also has taught sorcery, to whom you have given authority over those who are associated with him. They have gone together to the daughters of men, have lain with them, have become polluted, and have discovered crimes to them. The women likewise have brought forth giants, thus the whole earth has been filled with blood and with iniquity. And now behold, the souls of those who are dead cry out, and complain even to the gate of heaven. Their groaning ascends, nor can they escape from the unrighteous which is committed on earth. You know all things before they exist. You know these things and what has been done by them, yet you do not speak to us. What on account of these things ought we to do to them? Chapter 10. Then the Most High, the Great and Holy One, spoke, and sent Arsai-Alalur to the son of Lamech, saying, Say to him in my name, Conceal yourself. Then explain to him the consummation which is about to take place. For all the earth shall perish, the waters of a deluge shall come over the whole earth, and all things which are in it shall be destroyed. And now teach him how he may escape, and how his seed may remain in all the earth. Again the Lord said to Raphael, Bind Azazel hand and foot, cast him into darkness, and opening the desert which is in Judea, cast him in there. Throw upon him hurled and pointed stones, covering him with darkness. There shall he remain forever, cover his face, that he may not see the light. And in the great day of judgment let him be cast into the fire. Restore the earth, which the angels have corrupted, and announce life to it, that I may revive it. All the sons of men shall not perish in consequence of every secret by which the watchers have destroyed, and which they have taught their offspring. All the earth has been corrupted by the effects of the teaching of Azazel. To him, therefore, ascribe the whole crime. To Gabriel also the Lord said, Go to the biters, to the reprobates, to the children of fornication, and destroy the children of fornication, the offspring of the watchers from among men. Bring them forth, and excite them one against another. Let them perish by mutual slaughter, for a length of days shall not be theirs. They shall all entreat you, but their fathers shall not obtain their wishes respecting them, for they shall hope for eternal life, and that they may live, each of them, 500 years. To Michael likewise the Lord said, Go and announce his crime to Samyaza, and to the others who are with him, who have been associated with women, that they might be polluted with all their impurity. And when all their sons shall be slain, when they shall see the perdition of their beloved, bind them for 70 generations underneath the earth, even to the day of judgment, and of consummation until the judgment, the effect of which will last forever, be completed. Then shall they be taken away into the low steps of the fire and torments, and in confinement shall they be shut up forever. Immediately after this shall he, together with them, burn and perish. They shall be bound until the consummation of many generations. Destroy all the souls addicted to dalliance, and the offspring of the watchers, for they have tyrannized over mankind. Let every oppressor perish from the face of the earth. Let every evil work be destroyed. The plant of righteousness and of rectitude appear, and its produce become a blessing. Righteousness and rectitude shall be forever planted with delight. And then shall all the saints give thanks, and live until they have begotten 1,000 children, while the whole period of their youth and their Sabbaths shall be completed in peace. In those days all the earth shall be cultivated in righteousness. It shall be wholly planted with trees and filled with benediction, and every tree of delight shall be planted in it. In it shall vines be planted, and the vine which shall be planted in it shall yield fruit to satiety. Every seed which shall be sown in it shall produce for 1 measure 1,000, and 1 measure of olive shall produce 10 presses of oil. Purify the earth from all oppression, from all injustice, from all crime, from all impiety, and from all the pollution which is committed upon it. Exterminate them from the earth. Then shall all the children of men be righteous, and all nations shall pay me divine honors and bless me, and all shall adore me. The earth shall be cleansed from all corruption, from every crime, from all punishment, and from all suffering. Neither will I again send a deluge upon it from generation to generation forever. In those days I will open the treasures of blessing which are in heaven, that I may cause them to descend upon earth, and upon all the works and labors of man. Peace and equity shall associate with the sons of men all the days of the world, and every generation of it. Chapter 11 of the Book of Enoch does not exist. Some manuscripts use the previous 2 verses for that chapter. Chapter 12. Before all these things Enoch was concealed, nor did any one of the sons of men know where he was concealed, where he had been, and what had happened. He was wholly engaged with the holy ones and with the watchers in his days. Enoch was blessing the great Lord and King of peace, and behold, the watchers called me Enoch the scribe. Then the Lord said to me, Enoch, scribe of righteousness, go tell the watchers of heaven, who have deserted the lofty sky and their holy everlasting station, who have been polluted with women, and have done as the sons of men do, by taking to themselves wives, and who have been greatly corrupted on the earth, that on the earth they shall never obtain peace and remission of sin, for they shall not rejoice in their offspring, they shall behold the slaughter of their beloved, shall lament for the destruction of their sons, and shall petition forever, but shall not obtain mercy and peace. Chapter 13. Then Enoch, passing on, said to Azazel, You shall not obtain peace. A great sentence has gone forth against you. He shall bind you. Neither shall relief, mercy, and supplication be yours on account of the oppression which you have taught, and on account of every act of blasphemy, tyranny, and sin which you have discovered to the children of men. Then departing from him, I spoke to them all together, and they all became terrified and trembled, beseeching me to write for them a memorial of supplication, that they might obtain forgiveness, and that I might make the memorial of their prayer ascend up before God of heaven, because they could not themselves thenceforth address him, nor raise up their eyes to heaven on account of the disgraceful offense for which they were judged. Then I wrote a memorial of their prayer and supplications for their spirits, and everything which they had done, and for the subject of their entreaty, that they might obtain remission and rest. Proceeding on, I continued over the waters of Dambadan, which is on the right to the west of Armon, reading the memorial of their prayer until I fell asleep. And behold, a dream came to me, and visions appeared above me. I fell down and saw a vision of punishment, that I might relate it to the sons of heaven and reprove them. When I awoke, I went to them, all being collected together, stood weeping in Ubal-Seyael, which is situated between Libanos and Sinsanir, with their faces veiled. I related in their presence all the visions which I had seen, and my dream, and I began to utter these words of righteousness, reproving the watchers of heaven. Chapter 14. This is the book of the words of righteousness and of the reproof of the watchers who belong to the world, according to that which he who is holy and great commanded in the vision. I perceived in my dream that I was now speaking with the tongue of flesh, and with my breath, which the Mighty One has put into the mouth of men, that they might converse with it, and understand with the heart. As he has created and given to men the power of comprehending the word of understanding, so has he created and given to me the power of reproving the watchers, the offspring of heaven. I have written your petition, and in my vision it has been shown me that what you request will not be granted you as long as the world endures. Judgment has been passed upon you, your request will not be granted you. From this time forward, never shall you ascend into heaven. He has said that on the earth he will bind you as long as the world endures. But before these things you shall behold the destruction of your beloved sons. You shall not possess them, but they shall fall before you by the sword. Neither shall you entreat for them nor for yourselves. But you shall weep and supplicate in silence the words of the book which I wrote. A vision thus appeared to me. Behold, in that vision clouds and a mist invited me, agitated stars and flashes of lightning impelled and pressed me forwards, while winds in the vision assisted my flight, accelerating my progress. They elevated me aloft to heaven. I proceeded until I arrived at a wall built with stones of crystal. A vibrating flame surrounded it, which began to strike me with terror. Into this vibrating flame I entered, and drew nigh to the spacious habitation built also with stones of crystal. Its walls, too, as well as pavement, were formed with stones of crystal, and crystal likewise was the ground. Its roof had the appearance of agitated stars and flashes of lightning, and among them were cherubim of fire in a stormy sky. A flame burned around its walls, and its portal blazed with fire. When I entered into this dwelling, it was hot as fire and cold as ice. No trace of delight or of life was there. Terror overwhelmed me, and a fearful shaking seized me. Violently agitated and trembling, I fell upon my face. In the vision I looked, and behold, there was another habitation more spacious than the former, every entrance to which was open before me, erected in the midst of a vibrating flame. So greatly did it excel in all points, in glory and magnificence and in magnitude, that it is impossible to describe to you either the splendor or the extent of it. Its floor was on fire, above were lightnings and agitated stars, while its roof exhibited a blazing fire. Attentively I surveyed it, and saw that it contained an exalted throne, the appearance of which was like that of frost, while its circumference resembled the orb of the brilliant sun, and there was the voice of the cherubim. From underneath this mighty throne rivers of flaming fire issued. To look upon it was impossible. One great in glory sat upon it, whose robe was brighter than the sun, and whiter than snow. No angel was capable of penetrating to view the face of him, the glorious and the effulgent, nor any mortal behold him. A fire was flaming around him. A fire also of great extent continued to rise up before him, so that not one of those who surrounded him was capable of approaching him, among the myriads of myriads who were before him. To him holy consultation was needless. Yet did not the sanctified who were near him depart far from him, either by night or by day, nor were they removed from him. I also was so far advanced, with a veil on my face and trembling. Then the Lord with his own mouth called me, saying, Approach hither, Enoch, at my holy word. And he raised me up, making me draw near even to the entrance. My eye was directed to the ground. Chapter 15. Then, addressing me, he spoke and said, Hear, neither be afraid, O righteous Enoch, you scribe of righteousness, approach hither and hear my voice. Go, say to the watchers of heaven who have sent you to pray for them. You ought to pray for men and not men for you. Wherefore have you forsaken the lofty and holy heaven which endures forever, and have lain with women, have defiled yourself with the daughters of men, have taken to yourselves wives, have acted like the sons of the earth, and have begotten an impious offspring? You, being spiritual, holy, and possessing a life which is eternal, have polluted yourselves with women, have begotten in carnal blood, have lusted in the blood of men, and have done as those who are flesh and blood do. These, however, die and perish. Therefore have I given to them wives, that they might cohabit with them, that sons might be born of them, and that this might be transacted upon earth. But you from the beginning were made spiritual, possessing a life which is eternal, and not subject to death forever. Therefore I made not wives for you, because being spiritual your dwelling is in heaven. Now the giants who have been born of spirit and of flesh shall be called upon earth evil spirits, and on earth shall be their habitation. Evil spirits shall proceed from their flesh, because they were created from above. From the holy watchers was their beginning and primary foundation. Evil spirits shall they be upon earth, and the spirits of the wicked shall that they be called. The habitation of the spirits of heaven shall be in heaven, but upon the earth shall be the habitation of terrestrial spirits, who are born on earth. The spirits of the giants shall be like clouds, which shall oppress, corrupt, fall, content, and bruise upon earth. They shall cause lamentation. No food shall they eat, and they shall be thirsty. They shall be concealed, and shall not rise up against the sons of men and against women, for they come forth during the days of slaughter and destruction. Chapter 16. And as to the death of the giants, wheresoever their spirits depart from their bodies, let their flesh, that which is perishable, be without judgment. Thus shall they perish until the day of the great consummation of the great world. A destruction shall take place of the watchers and the impious. And now to the watchers who have sent you to pray for them, who in the beginning were in heaven, say, in heaven have you been. Secret things, however, have not been manifested to you. Yet have you known a reprobated mystery, and this you have related to women in the hardness of your heart. And by that mystery have women and mankind multiplied evils upon the earth. Say to them, never, therefore, shall you obtain peace. Chapter 17. They raised me up into a certain place, where there was the appearance of a burning fire, and when they pleased, they assumed the likeness of men. They carried me to a lofty spot, to a mountain, the top of which reached to heaven. And I beheld the receptacles of light and of thunder at the extremities of the place where it was the deepest. There was a bow of fire, and arrows in their quiver, a sword of fire, and to every species of lightning. Then they elevated me to a babbling stream, and to a fire in the west, which received all the setting of the sun. I came to a river of fire which flowed like water, and emptied itself into the great sea westwards. I saw every large river until I arrived at the great darkness. I went to where all of flesh migrate, and I beheld the mountains of the gloom which constitutes winter, and the place from which issues the water in every abyss. I saw also the mouths of all the rivers in the world, and the mouths of the deep. Chapter 18. I then surveyed the receptacles of all the winds, perceiving that they contributed to adorn the whole creation, and to preserve the foundation of the earth, surveyed the stone which supports the corners of the earth. I also beheld the four winds, which bear up the earth, and the firmament of heaven. And I beheld the winds occupying the exalted sky, arising in the midst of heaven and of earth, and constituting the pillars of heaven. I saw the winds which turn the sky, which cause the orb of the sun and of all the stars to set. And over the earth I saw the winds which support the clouds. I saw the path of the angels. I perceived at the extremity of the earth the firmament of heaven above it. Then I passed on towards the south, where, burnt both by day and night, 6 mountains formed of glorious stones, 3 towards the east and 3 towards the south. Those which were towards the east were of a variegated stone, one of which was of marguerite, another of antimony. Those towards the south were of a red stone. The middle one reached to heaven like the throne of God, a throne composed of alabaster, the top of which was of sapphire. I saw, too, a blazing fire hanging over all the mountains. And there I saw a place on the other side of an extended torrent, where waters were collected. I likewise beheld terrestrial fountains deep in the fiery columns of heaven. And in the columns of heaven I beheld fires which descended without number, but neither on high nor into the deep. Over these fountains also I perceived a place which had neither the firmament of heaven above it, nor the solid ground underneath it, neither was there water above it, nor anything on wing, but the spot was desolate. And there I beheld 7 stars like great blazing mountains, and like spirits entreating me. Then the angel said, This place, until the consummation of heaven and earth, will be the prison of the stars and the host of heaven. The stars which roll over fire are those which transgressed the commandment of God before their time arrived, for they came not in their proper season. Therefore was he offended with them, and bound them, until the period of the consummation of their crimes in the secret year. Chapter 19. Then Uriel said, Here the angels who cohabited with women appointed their leaders, and being numerous in appearance, made men profane, and caused them to err, so that they sacrifice to devils as to gods. For in the great day there shall be a judgment with which they shall be judged until they are consumed. And their wives also shall be judged, who led astray the angels of heaven, that they might salute them. And I, Enoch, I alone saw the likeness of the end of all things, nor did any human being see it as I saw it. Chapter 20. These are the names of the angels who watch: Uriel, one of the holy angels, who presides over clamor and terror; Raphael, one of the holy angels, who presides over the spirits of men; Raguel, one of the holy angels, who inflicts punishment on the world and the luminaries; Michael, one of the holy angels, who, presiding over human virtue, commands the nations; Serachiel, one of the holy angels, who presides over the spirits of the children of men that transgress; Gabriel, one of the holy angels, who presides over Ikasat, over paradise, and over the cherubim. Chapter 21. Then I made a circuit to a place in which nothing was completed, and there I beheld neither the tremendous workmanship of an exalted heaven, nor of an established earth, but a desolate spot prepared and terrific. There too I beheld 7 stars of heaven bound in it together like great mountains and like a blazing fire. I exclaimed, For what species of crime have they been bound, and why have they been removed to this place? Then Uriel, one of the holy angels who was with me, and who conducted me, answered, Enoch, Wherefore do you ask? Wherefore do you reason with yourself and anxiously inquire? These are those of the stars, which have transgressed the commandment of the Most High God, and are here bound until the infinite number of the days of their crimes be completed. From there I afterwards passed on to another terrific place, where I beheld the operation of a great fire blazing and glittering, in the midst of which there was a division. Columns of fire struggled together to the end of the abyss, and deep was their descent. But neither its measurement nor magnitude was I able to discover, neither could I perceive its origin. Then I exclaimed, "How terrible is this place, and how difficult to explore!" Uriel, one of the holy angels who was with me, answered and said, "Enoch, why are you alarmed and amazed at this terrific place, at the sight of this place of suffering? This, he said, is the prison of the angels, and here they are kept forever." Chapter 22. From there I proceeded to another spot, where I saw in the west a great and lofty mountain, a strong rock, and 4 delightful places. Internally it was deep, capacious, and very smooth as if it had been rolled over. It was both deep and dark to behold. Then Raphael, one of the holy angels who was with me, answered and said, "These are the delightful places where the spirits, the souls of the dead, will be collected. For them were they formed, and here will be collected all the souls of the sons of men. These places in which they dwell shall they occupy until the day of judgment, until their appointed period. Their appointed period will be long, even until the great judgment." And I saw the spirits of the sons of men who were dead, and their voices reached to heaven while they were accusing. Then I inquired of Raphael, an angel who was with me, and said, "Whose spirit is that, the voice of which reaches to heaven and accuses?" He answered, saying, "This is the spirit of Abel, who was slain by Cain his brother, and who will accuse that brother, until his seed be destroyed from the face of the earth, until his seed perish from the seed of the human race." At that time, therefore, I inquired respecting him and respecting the general judgment, saying, "Why is one separated from another?" He answered, 3 separations have been made between the spirits of the dead, and thus have the spirits of the righteous been separated, namely, by a chasm, by water, and by light above it. And in the same way likewise are sinners separated when they die and are buried in the earth, judgment not overtaking them in their lifetime. Here their souls are separated. Moreover, abundant is their suffering until the time of the great judgment, the castigation, and the torment of those who eternally execrate, whose souls are punished and bound there forever. And thus has it been from the beginning of the world. Thus has there existed a separation between the souls of those who utter complaints, and of those who watch for their destruction, to slaughter them in the day of sinners. A receptacle of this sort has been formed for the souls of unrighteous men, and of sinners, of those who have completed crime, and associated with the impious whom they resemble. Their souls shall not be annihilated in the day of judgment, neither shall they arise from this place. Then I blessed God, and said, "Blessed be my Lord, the Lord of glory and of righteousness, who reigns over all, forever and ever." Chapter 23. From there I went to another place toward the west, unto the extremities of the earth, where I beheld a fire blazing and running along without cessation, which intermitted its course neither by day nor by night, but continued always the same. I inquired, saying, "What is this which never ceases?" Then Raguel, one of the holy angels who were with me, answered and said, "This blazing fire which you behold running towards the west is that of all the luminaries of heaven." Chapter 24. I went from there to another place, and saw a mountain of fire flashing both by day and night. I proceeded toward it, and perceived 7 splendid mountains, which were all different from each other. Their stones were brilliant and beautiful. All were brilliant and splendid to behold, and beautiful was their surface. 3 mountains were toward the east, and strengthened by being placed one upon another, and 3 were towards the south, strengthened in a similar manner. There were likewise deep valleys which did not approach each other, and the 7th mountain was in the midst of them. In length they all resembled the seat of a throne, and odoriferous trees surrounded them. Among these there was a tree of an unceasing smell, nor of those which were in Eden was there one of all the fragrant trees which smelt like this. Its leaf, its flower, and its bark never withered, and its fruit was beautiful. Its fruit resembled the cluster of the palm. I exclaimed, Behold, this tree is goodly in aspect, pleasing in its leaf, and the sight of its fruit is delightful to the eye. Then Michael, one of the holy and glorious angels who were with me, and one who presided over them, answered and said, Enoch, why do you inquire respecting the odor of this tree? Why are you so inquisitive to know it? Then I, Enoch, replied to him and said, Concerning everything I am desirous of instruction, but particularly concerning this tree. He answered me, saying, That mountain which you behold, the extent of whose head resembles the seat of the Lord, will be the seat on which shall sit the holy and great Lord of glory, the everlasting King, when he shall come and descend to visit the earth with goodness. And that tree of an agreeable smell, not one of carnal odor, there shall be no power to touch until the period of the great judgment, when all shall be punished and consumed forever. This shall be bestowed on the righteous and humble. The fruit of the tree shall be given to the elect. For towards the north life shall be planted in the holy place, towards the habitation of the everlasting King. Then shall they greatly rejoice and exult in the Holy One. The sweet odor shall enter into their bones, and they shall live a long life on the earth as your forefathers have lived. Neither in their days shall sorrow, distress, trouble, and punishment afflict them. And I blessed the Lord of glory, the everlasting King, because he had prepared this tree for the saints, formed it, and declared that he would give it to them. Chapter 25. From there I proceeded to the middle of the earth, and beheld a happy and fertile spot which contained branches continually sprouting from the trees which were planted in it. There I saw a holy mountain, and underneath it water on the eastern side, which flowed toward the south. I saw also on the east another mountain as high as that, and between them there were deep but not wide valleys. Water ran toward the mountain to the west of this, and underneath there was likewise another mountain. There was a valley, but not a wide one, below it, and in the midst of them were other deep and dry valleys towards the extremity of the three. All these valleys, which were deep but not side, consisted of a strong rock with a tree which was planted in them. And I wondered at the rock and at the valleys, being extremely surprised. Chapter 26. Then I said, What means this blessed land, all these lofty trees, and the accursed valley between them? Then Uriel, one of the holy angels who were with me, replied, This valley is the accursed of the accursed forever. Here shall be collected all who utter with their mouths unbecoming language against God, and speak harsh things of his glory. Here shall they be collected. Here shall be their territory. In the latter days an example of judgment shall be made of them in righteousness before the saints, while those who have received mercy shall forever all their days bless God, the everlasting King. And at the period of judgment shall they bless him for his mercy, as he has distributed it to them. Then I blessed God, addressing myself to him, and making mention, as was meet, of his greatness. Chapter 27. From there I proceeded towards the east to the middle of the mountain and the desert, the level surface only of which I perceived. It was full of trees of the seed alluded to, and the water leaped down upon it. There appeared a cataract composed, as of many cataracts, both towards the west and towards the east. Upon one side were trees, upon the other water and dew. Chapter 28. Then I went to another place from the desert, towards the east of that mountain which I had approached. There I beheld choice trees, particularly those which produced the sweet-smelling opiate, frankincense, and myrrh, and trees unlike to each other. And over it above them was the elevation of the eastern mountain, at no great distance. Chapter 29. I likewise saw another place with valleys of water, which never wasted, where I perceived a goodly tree, which in smell resembled zasakanon. And towards the sides of these valleys I perceived cinnamon of a sweet odor. Over them I advanced towards the east. Chapter 30. Then I beheld another mountain containing trees, from which water flowed, like Nekatro. Its name was Sarira and Kalbaneba. And upon this mountain I beheld another mountain, upon which were trees of Alva. These trees were full, like almond trees, and strong, and when they produced fruit, it was superior to all redolence. Chapter 31. After these things, surveying the entrances of the north above the mountains, I perceived 7 mountains replete with pure nard, odoriferous trees, cinnamon, and papyrus. From there I passed on above the summits of those mountains to some distance eastwards, and went over the Erythraean Sea. And when I was advanced far behind it, I passed along above the angel Zatael, and arrived at the garden of righteousness. In this garden I beheld, among other trees, some which were numerous and large, and which flourished there. Their fragrance was agreeable and powerful, and their appearance both varied and elegant. The tree of knowledge also was there, of which if anyone eats, he becomes endowed with great wisdom. It was like a species of the teremin tree, bearing fruit which resembles grapes, extremely fine, and its fragrance extended to a considerable distance. I exclaimed, "How beautiful is this tree, and how delightful is its appearance!" Then holy Raphael, an angel who was with me, answered and said, "This is the tree of knowledge, of which your ancient father and your aged mother ate, who were before you, and who, obtaining knowledge, their eyes being opened, and knowing themselves to be naked, were expelled from the garden." Chapter 2. From there I went on towards the extremities of the earth, where I saw large beasts different from each other, and birds various in their countenances and forms, as well as with notes of different sounds. To the east of these beasts I perceived the extremities of the earth, where heaven ceased. The gates of heaven stood open, and I beheld the celestial stars come forth. I numbered them as they proceeded out of the gate, and wrote them all down as they came out one by one according to their number. I wrote down their names altogether, their times, and their seasons, as the angel Uriel, who was with me, pointed them out to me. He showed them all to me, and wrote down an account of them. He also wrote down for me their names, their regulations, and their operations. Chapter 33. From there I advanced on towards the north to the extremities of the earth. From there I saw a great and glorious wonder at the extremities of the whole earth. I saw there heavenly gates opening into heaven, 3 of them distinctly separated. The northern winds proceeded from them, blowing cold, hail, frost, snow, dew, and rain. From one of the gates they blew mildly, but when they blew from the other 2 gates it was with violence and force. They blew over the earth strongly. Chapter 34. From there I went to the extremities of the world westwards, where I perceived 3 gates open, as I had seen in the north, the gates and passages through them being of equal magnitude. Chapter 35. Then I proceeded to the extremities of the earth southwards, where I saw 3 gates open to the south, from which issued dew, rain, and wind. From there I went to the extremities of heaven eastwards, where I saw 3 heavenly gates open to the east, which had similar gates within them. Through each of these small gates the stars of heaven passed on, and proceeded towards the west by a path which was seen by them, and that at every period of their appearance. When I beheld them I blessed. Every time in which they appeared, I blessed the Lord of glory, who had made those great and splendid signs, that they might display the magnificence of his works to angels and to the souls of men, and that these might glorify all his works and operations, might see the effect of his power, might glorify the great labor of his hands, and bless him forever. Chapter 36. And from thence I went to the south to the ends of the earth, and saw there 3 open portals of the heaven, and thence there came dew, rain, and wind. And from thence I went to the east to the ends of the heaven, and saw here the 3 eastern portals of heaven open, and small portals above them. Through each of these small portals pass the stars of heaven, and run their course to the west on the path which is shown to them. And as often as I saw, I blessed always the Lord of glory, and I continued to bless the Lord of glory, who has wrought great and glorious wonders, to show the greatness of his work to the angels and to the spirits and to men, that they might praise his work and all his creation, that they might see the work of his might, and praise the great work of his hands, and bless him forever. This concludes chapters 1 through 36 of the book of Enoch, the Watchers.